All right, welcome. So this video is the real secrets to success. All right, so this video is going to cover all of my key pillars, all of my key principles for becoming successful. I'm going to cover why each of these are so important, how you can implement and utilize them, and what they will actually do as far as boosting your progress and helping you to become more successful in all areas of life. Before we start, if you enjoy this video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like and also comment down below anything value you may learn as you watch the video. But without further ado, let's start with how self-sabotage and overcomplicating the process blocks progress. So for most of us, when we're trying to become successful, at least those of us with big goals, and in general, when we are trying to become more successful, when we are trying to make more progress in life, a lot of us really do overcomplicate the process. A lot of people turn to self-sabotage, a lot of people turn to overthinking as a means of making it more difficult and as a means of making it harder and creating more resistance because of the fact that they are afraid of actually doing the work, right? A lot of people are afraid of actually putting in the work. So this is why we block ourselves through things like making the process so complicated that we can't even start, or by self-sabotaging to get ourselves further from the starting point as a means of, again, derailing us from actually doing what we need to do because we don't want to make this change. We don't want to commit to this thing, not because it's bad, but because it's unknown and we don't know what is on the other side yet. So our brain typically tries to overcomplicate this process because it feels as though it can't trust the process and let it be simple, right? It needs to have some level of control. And so it tries to create a process that you can use to control the outcome, control the results. And this ends up overcomplicating the process, making it more difficult than it has to be. Really, all we need to do to become successful is put in the repetitions, work on whatever it is we're trying to create, refine, so work on it, refine it, make it better, refine ourselves and our knowledge base, and continually improve our skills at that specific thing. And over time, we will eventually get to a point where we are able to produce something that is of value, that is something that can actually create the result we're looking for. Let's say that's a YouTube video or a course or a book. By putting in the repetitions and continuously increasing our skills, just writing the book and then doing it again and then doing it again, we will refine our skills in such a way that gets us to a point where we can sell a book and make $1 million, right? We can publish a book and make $1 million. We can publish a book and make 10. We increase the skills that we have to create the thing that is going to provide value, that is going to bring in the kind of income we want. If we're an athlete, the skills that will allow us to compete at the highest level. But the actual process is very simple. However, our brains want to overcomplicate it. Our brains want to make it more difficult than it is. We typically want to self-sabotage because by doing something that we know will create a negative result, we are at least doing something that we can predict. When we don't know what the result is going to look like of something positive, even though it is positive, it becomes more difficult for us to do that thing. Because we are unable to simply look at the steps and follow through on them in a sequence, right? This is why we struggle to make progress. Because we are so stuck trying to take steps in the wrong direction, or we are so stuck trying to create a plan for how to do it that actually only ever overcomplicates the process and makes it more difficult than it is. And that is what blocks us from progressing. Because all of this extra stuff, all of this fluff, all of this noise is actually just taking away from our ability to actively move in that direction. Because we are doing things that aren't in alignment with the goals that we're trying to achieve, we are taking away from our ability to move in that direction. And it's not to say that anything you do that doesn't have to do with your goal is bad, but it's to say that things that you do that will be a detriment to your ability to achieve the goal are bad. Why becoming successful is a matter of strategy, not luck. When you become successful, or for those of you who are on your way up, when you do eventually get to the point where you reach success, or if you have already achieved success, this happens as a result of strategy, not luck. Those who think that people got lucky, or the idea that every self-made millionaire won a lottery of sorts, this is not accurate, right? To think that success is based on luck is actually completely wrong. Success is more mathematic than anything else, right? Success is a strategy, it's a sequence, it is a process, right? It is an algorithm that we can copy and paste. So therefore, it's not about luck. You don't just get lucky with success. It's strategy. When you put in the right inputs, when you put in the right cause, you get the right effect. When you do the right things and you create a strategy, a process, a plan, a protocol, and follow through on that protocol, you will become successful at a certain point. Because the way we become successful is more like cause and effect. It isn't luck, it's cause and effect. When we have the right strategy and we are putting in the right inputs, we get the right outputs. Now let's get into the keys for becoming successful, right? These are my real secrets to success. The first key is habits. Habits are very, very powerful because they are small activities that we do each and every day that accumulate over the period of time that we are working on our goals. So let's say for 2 years, we're trying to grind and become successful in a specific business. If our habits support more progress in that direction, or they support better performance, better clarity of mind and state of mind, better health, better longevity, right? More knowledge. All of these things will actually boost our ability to become more successful after 2 years. Versus if all we're doing is working and the other things we're doing are bad habits or nothing else, after 2 years you will be burnt out. For those who have the right habits, however, after those 2 years, you will become more successful than the person without those habits, and you will be able to take it further after those 2 years than the person who didn't have the right habits. Those 2 years accumulate and compound into massive results in the things that you've been putting an effort towards. So if you're consistently meditating every day, if you're consistently journaling, if you're consistently reading, then you're going to notice there is a great effect by the end of 2 years because you will be significantly smarter. You will be significantly more mentally clear and focused and present. You will be significantly more aware of your thoughts and the things that you want to express. And based on the habits, there are many other benefits that you could receive. So habits are very, very powerful, and they have a very great effect on how much we can become successful. So how do we actually pick the right habits? Determine a pain point in your life or determine something that is blocking you from progressing. So for example, if you have no mental clarity, if you're never present, if you're always overthinking, if you feel as though you don't know enough, if you don't have enough knowledge, if you feel as though you are not healthy, you need to become more fit and more in shape. Whatever it is, determine what a pain point in your life is that, if solved, could boost your ability to achieve your goals. Then determine a habit that, if sustained over time, would support you in that specific goal. So for example, I have a lot of back pain nowadays, right? I'm young, I'm 19, I shouldn't have back pain. But I have lower back pain and I have middle back pain sometimes. So I identify that as a detriment to my ability to be a snowboarder, a professional athlete. Knee pain is another one. I have a lot of knee pain because I'm a snowboarder, right? I hit big jumps, land a little awkward sometimes. You get a little jolt in the knee that can build up over time and that can start to accumulate and start to really hurt. So I can either put up with it and try to push through, which is very ignorant and very stupid, or what you could do is you could create or implement a habit that might allow you to overcome that problem. So in my case, I believe that yoga and stretching are the keys to becoming healthy and able to have a good amount of mobility, good amount of strength, functional strength in particular. So yoga and stretching and also isometrics for the knee are going to be the habits that I'll include. So to determine that these habits will get me to the result I want to get to is how we will determine what habit you want to include, right? So if I want to have better strength, right? Better posture, so back strength, but also I need to stretch and relax those muscles, I'm going to do some form of exercise-based yoga. If I just need to loosen some muscles and relieve tension, I'm going to talk about stretching, and isometrics are going to be good for building knee strength. So whatever habit actually aligns with what you're trying to achieve, you can then implement said habit. The way we change habits is we determine where we want to place that habit in our day and in our schedule. And then we simply have to, at a specific time, in a specific place, follow through on that habit. And by doing it consistently every day for at least 3 months, we'll be able to fully ingrain a new habit into our lifestyles. So the second key, time, energy, and attention. These three things are our most important assets: time, energy, and attention. What we can achieve and what we can create in this world is based on where we allocate our time, our energy, and our attention. The results that we get, the person that we become, and the things that we can achieve are all based on these three assets. And these are the most important things that we have as human beings. Money can be traded for these assets, but it cannot replace these assets, right? We typically trade these assets for money, but again, money is not exchangeable for these assets because money can always be made. Money is infinite. Money is everywhere. And I say money is infinite, which is slightly nuanced, but in reality, governments print money, so money is truly infinite. We can always get more money. There's always more money somewhere. So money is a replaceable asset. Time, energy, and attention are not, right? So attention is something that is based on our consciousness, right? That is just who we are and what we have as our ability to interact with the world is our attention span. So our ability to become aware of something is how we interact with it. Energy is the energy that we put forth towards things. It's the energy that keeps our bodies alive. It's the energy that we use to create things, right? To either create work, write videos, scripts, books. It is the same energy we use when we're exercising and training. So energy is the electrical energy, the force behind our actions. And then time is a limited asset. Time is something we only have so much of, right? Time is something that is never going to stop. It's never going to pause, and we will never get it back. So time is actually one of the most important assets because time multiplied by attention multiplied by energy equals a result. So time spent doing the activity, the amount of attention we allocate to that specific activity, and the amount of energy we put forth while doing the activity will determine the results that we achieve. So how do we actually properly invest these assets? How do we properly place these assets into the right areas in order to make sure that we are getting to where we want to go? Now, the key is to have a timetable, have a structure, have a schedule, have goals that you are working towards so that you can simply align the time that you spend throughout your day, the energy that you feel and have throughout the day, and your attention and your awareness onto these specific things. And what we want to do is we want to concentrate these three assets into one specific place because that is how we will progress the most and progress the fastest within that area. For example, my main goal right now is to progress my YouTube business and my ebook business to 10K a month and then eventually 50. To do that, what I would do is I would concentrate my time, energy, and attention, meaning I would spend as much of the time in the day that I have available on that specific project, on that specific goal. While doing that, I would make sure that I'm not distracted by other things and allocating as much of my attention and energy to that specific task. And then again, with energy, we are going to be making sure that we are concentrating and putting forth that energy towards what we're doing. If you're not aware of your nervous system and how that operates, this can be kind of confusing, but the idea is basically we need to become aware of our source of energy and direct it towards the thing that we're acting on. The reason why concentrating these assets creates such massive results is because of the fact that they multiply each other, right? So it's not time plus energy plus attention. It's time multiplied by energy multiplied by attention. The more time we spend on something, the more we can create a result. Same thing with energy. The more energy we put forth towards something, the more we can get that result. And attention is the same thing. But if we have dialed attention, if we have focused energy, and if we have that consistently over a long period of time, we can create massive results. And with these three assets, and by placing these three assets in the right place, we can guarantee success. Because in reality, the way we become successful is by allocating enough of these three assets to creating that result. The third key is focus. How focused you are determines how fast you can progress. Meaning, the amount of focus that you dedicate towards something will determine the speed at which you can progress. The amount of focus and concentration you can put towards one specific thing is going to determine how much you're able to progress in that thing. For example, with this, my focus is completely on the video, which is making it much easier to produce the video. But if I was half focused on making the video and half focused on thinking about lunch later, I wouldn't be able to produce the same amount of energy, the amount of passion, the amount of connection through the video that I would if I had all of my focus onto the video. As well as the fact that focus amplifies itself the longer you sustain it. So when you are focused on one specific thing and you continue staying focused on that thing, you can eventually deepen your focus, concentrating more of your attention and more of your energy onto that specific thing. Focus, you can think of focus as a tool for concentrating your energy and your attention. But when you focus deeper, you remove a lot more of the friction. And because you can remove a lot more of the friction, you can move faster throughout that specific task. The next thing is how to concentrate focus. How do we concentrate focus? Well, the thing is we have to determine what task we're trying to focus on. Then, once we know what task we're actually focusing on, what we have to do is we simply start working, do whatever we have to do to become present, become grounded. A good way to go about this is for me, when I come in, I set up my recording setup, I get my script out, I read over the script really quick to get an idea of what the video is about. And then I simply take some deep breaths, focus in, and for me, I just press record, because once I press record, it's like, okay, now I'm going to lock it in. So basically, do whatever you have to do to get started. You don't have to start with the greatest amount of focus ever, the greatest amount of energy ever. Just get yourself started. Then, as you go, make sure that you are paying attention to where your focus is going. Are you focused on the work, or are you focused on thinking about lunch? Or are you focused on thinking about your exercise, your training session that you have to hit, right? Whatever it is you're focusing on, determine what it is and determine whether it's in alignment with the task you're trying to do. If it is, try to focus a little bit deeper, try to concentrate that focus a little more, try to push more of your attention into the task. Then, also, if you are distracted, if you noticed you're thinking about lunch, you're maybe a little too antsy, you really want to hit that workout, right? You have a lot of energy, but you got to sit down and record. Take all that energy, take that thought and dissolve it, and then redirect your focus and your energy back to the task. If you have too much energy and you're trying to move more, if you focus on redirecting that energy, you can actually just produce more with your work, maybe finish it faster, and therefore get to your workout a little bit sooner. And all we have to really do from there is continue that process. It's just like a meditation. Every time we become distracted, redirect our focus back to the task, and the longer we do this, the deeper we will go into focus. The fourth key is identity. Who you are is what you get. It isn't what you want in life, it's who you are. Meaning that the person that you become determines the results that you have. So if we want to become successful, if we want to have a lot of money, if we want to be an incredible athlete, right? Who is that person? What do they look like? Are they disciplined or are they lazy? Do they kind of just do whatever they want, or do they have a strict routine? Are they training consistently, or are they just like that? Determine what kind of person would get the results you're looking for, right? If you just think you can do whatever but get a specific result, you're mistaken, because who you become determines that result. And who you become is based on what you do, how you think, and what you feel. So we need to be sure that we are aligning these three things with where we want to go, and then continuing to stay in alignment with that to develop an identity that is in alignment with the goal that we want to achieve. And that is how we get there. We get there by becoming the person first. We don't get the results and then become the person. We become the person, and then that person creates the results. So how do you actually change your identity to align with your goals? First, you have to determine what your goals are. Once you know what your goals actually are and where you want to go in life, then observe where your thoughts are. How do you think on a daily basis, right? What are your thoughts like? What is your mindset like? What beliefs do you have? Also look at what does your energy look like, right? Is your energy in alignment with abundance, or is it in alignment with lack? With your energy, your vibration, your emotional state. Then look at your actions, the things that you actually do every single day. Are they in alignment with where you want to go, or are they a detriment to the goals you're trying to achieve? Then all we simply have to do is align these three things with the identity we want to create. So we align our thoughts and our mindset with abundance and being able to make a lot of money and being able to be a rich and wealthy individual. Having the state of being, right? The energy required, an energy of abundance, an abundant source of energy, an abundant emotional state, right? We associate emotions of creativity, positivity, love, and joy with progression. And so therefore, we actually actively will work towards that and want to progress. And our actions are in alignment with the fact that we want to achieve this goal. We are doing the work associated. We are putting in the effort. We are actually doing the things that get us to where we want to go. Once we have all three things in place and we sustain it over a long enough period of time, we can actually begin to identify with that which we're trying to create. Meaning, once we have the right mindset, emotional state, and we're taking the right actions, we can now psychologically change our state of identity. We can stop identifying with the old self, the old pattern, the old version of who we were, and start identifying with the new pattern that we're creating. By identifying with that new pattern, you solidify it. By solidifying the new pattern and creating an identity associated, you then create the result. And you create the result in a way that is sustainable. Because by not going backwards, we guarantee continued results. Before I go, I wanted to leave you guys with one more final point. All of these keys are very powerful and they will boost you on your path to success. But if you can't trust the process and stay consistent, you'll never be able to actually get there. Because in reality, these things take time. It doesn't just happen overnight. You won't put in the work today and wake up tomorrow rich. But if you put in the work today and you put it in again tomorrow and you do it again the next day and you keep up that consistency over a long enough period of time, you will eventually get there. And you simply need to trust the process, and you simply need to trust that it will happen as long as you are doing the right things and putting in the right inputs. Therefore, the only thing that really matters is consistency. The only thing that matters is that your system is running. If your system is operating, you are moving towards your goal. And if you can understand that and just keep working with the system to make sure that the system optimizes to get you there, then you are golden. But you have to not become discouraged because it doesn't happen immediately. You have to trust the process, you have to trust that it's going to happen, and you have to trust that the result is not there because something is misaligned. The result is not there not because you can't get there, but because you need to change or alter something within your process, within your system, in order to get there. Right? By continuing to work with the system, by continuing to optimize it and get yourself closer, analyzing and realizing that, okay, I don't have the result because there's something else misaligned that I need to align, and continue moving in that direction. Just keep improving every day. Just keep getting better every day. Increase your skills and do so over a long enough period of time, and you will get the result. So that is all I have for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. If you enjoy short form, I do have a TikTok and an Instagram linked below. Other than that, it's all from me. I'm out of here. Peace.